Alright everybody, welcome back to Your Dry Delight. Yes, you know I'm gonna say it, this freaking music is amazing. When we left off, we were being sexually harassed and given information over cake. That's right, Myers like, I'll give you whatever you want. But only if you bring me cake first, and he wasn't lying. We brought him cake and he was just spilling the beans. He was like, see? Where did I save it at? There it is. Pausing, Meyer makes a show of tapping a finger against his bottom lip, turning his eyes towards the ceiling. Oh, he's contemplative. It's such an obvious display that I know for a fact he's already got his question picked out, and he's just toying with me. Yeah, that sounds like something your boss would do too. He's like, oh, what should I ask Richter? He's like, dude, if you don't ask me right, I will call the cops. It's like, we are the cops. Damn it. I drain the last of my glass in an attempt to act casual, turning my head away slightly. Ah, I've got one. What memory do you have of your first kiss? Please describe it in great detail. Flashes back to Leslie. Oh, you know that was Richter's. No, it probably wasn't. Look at his face. He's like, you son of a bitch. I nearly choke on my drink. So this is what he was planning all along? I'm listening, very attentively. Of course you are. Definitely not a gangster. Hold on, Damn it, I know this is what he wants me to say, but it'll be a cold day in hell before I tell this guy I've never properly kissed anyone before. Can I just trade the favor? Oh? Don't feign surprise, you bastard. In that case, I suppose I'll take you up on that favor right now. Richter's like, oh, goody goody gumdrops. I reflexively squeeze my eyes shut, sucking in a breath. It feels like my chest is going to explode. Richter? What are you doing? I guess he thought you were gonna frickin' jack him up. I don't know. I hurry open one eye to see Meyer staring at me quizzically. I thought he... No, of course he wouldn't. He's too much of a gentleman. He's gonna hit me. Just do it. Do it. Just tear off the band-aid. Hit my bad side. Just a little dizzy from the drink. So, what do you want from me? For the favor? Well, you'll probably think me a fool for saying this, but... Reaching for the bag at his right, Meyer lifts it up and sighs happily, slipping his hand inside to unwrap the cake. I'd like you to share this with me. The heck? I heard a weird noise. Oh, it was my Wi-Fi acting like a jerk. Well, no matter. I can record anyway. Share the cake? He nods, pulling back the paper wrapping to reveal the delicious-looking spongy white dessert. I'd feel guilty enjoying it by myself, especially considering you brought it for me. So I'd prefer we savor it together. Does that sound agreeable? Huh, I haven't had a thing since lunch, so you're asking the right guy. Should we just cut it in half, or what? No. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like the look. Leslie, I need an adult. You're going to feed it to me. Richter's like, okay, listen, the only person I feed is my boss, and that's because he gives me no choice. I blink at Meyer, unsure if I heard him correctly. He gazes back at me calmly. I definitely didn't mishear that, did I? If you want, then should I get a fork, or... That won't be necessary. Come, take a bite. Oh, he wants the mouth action. That's what he wants. Meyer offers the cake to me along with a daring raise of his brow. I feel like I just walked right into a trap. Well, you did. You should have just answered the question and then been like, I'm leaving. But I knew that from the beginning, didn't I? And I came here all the same because I wanted it to happen. I take a small bite of the cake, letting the fluffy sweetness rest on my tongue. Then, Meyer gently curls a finger under my chin, gradually closing the distance between us. His chest presses against mine, pinning me to the back of the sofa. There's no need to be embarrassed, Richter. He breathes those words against my cheek, pulling my jaw down ever so slightly to part my lips. This is not how you eat cake, Meyer. This is totally unsanitary. Slowly, delicately, he covers my mouth with his own. I mean, there's so much, like, germs being swapped through our cake right now. I worked hard for this cake. The sweet flavor mingles between our tongues, but my head feels so foggy that I can barely think about how it tastes. It tastes like cake. Meyer teases me with maddeningly light, soft kisses, pulling back a little bit each time I start to press forward. He's really trying to provoke me, isn't he? Well, it's working. Well, you won then. I bite down hard on his lower lip, exhaling a hot, impatient breath. Momentarily, his chest presses harder against mine. His kisses suddenly grow more aggressive, hard and deep, so intense that I have to gasp for air whenever I can. I pull his coat off his shoulders, grasping needily at his shirt, letting my hands wander all over his powerful body. Get ready, guys, and girls, and everyone. Just as his tongue starts to slip into my mouth, he pulls back again, this time breaking into a devilish grin. Okay, rude. First, you ruin cake, and then you leave me hanging, and then you put your coat back on. If I'd known that you would be so eager, I would have done this a lot sooner. Are we gonna spend the whole night talking or share more of that cake? He's like, I don't know, man. I can't disappoint my favorite detective now, can I? It would be horrible if you clapped me in shackles and brought me in for interrogation after all. You sound pretty excited about that idea, actually. And can you blame me? Meyer swipes a finger through the cake's icing, then presses it past my lips. I suckle on it without hesitation, lapping the sweetness off his fingertip, a faint moan leaking from my throat before I can contain it. Richter. Definitely not a gangster Meyer. He's like, wait, what? Ah, kisses! I thought we were eating cake. To make up your mind, I can only do one at a time. Meyer suddenly leans in for another kiss, trailing his finger along my bottom lip. This time, he's the impatient one, his tongue pressing insistently against my lips until I part them. It greedily swirls inside my mouth, tangling with my own tongue as Meyer presses me roughly against the couch. It's like he can't get enough of me, and I can't get enough of him. I grasp his hips and keep him pulled forward, wanting more and more. As we trade eager wet kisses, my mind hazily wanders towards a certain question. What am I really doing here? Am I trying to live out some detective seduced by a mobster fantasy? Or is it like Meyer said? Are we just two men outside of our opposite professions, savoring each other's company? If Leslie could see me right now, I don't know what he'd think, or if he'd even find it excusable. But if I'm so easily turned away from my duties by a gangster, maybe I was never cut out for this line of work to begin with. Leslie would be like, he kissed my man. One of Meyer's hands drifts down my chest, slipping around my waist to squeeze my hip. I normally wouldn't do this on a first date, especially since I'd like to give you a reason to come back. Oh, yeah, because I'm definitely not going to come back. Richter's definitely going to be like, oh, I can't ever go back. We already did it once. He's often, have you ever had a boyfriend? Or are you just stupid? He heatedly murmurs a string of words in between breathless kisses, not giving me a moment to reply. But it doesn't feel like you'll need too much convincing. Yeah, see? Use your brain. Meyer, you're a gangster. He's only good at one thing, and that's cake. His fingertips tease along my inner thigh, sending shivers through me from head to toe. Just a little bit higher. A little higher. Oh, interrupted. Meyer's face is like, no one should be knocking on that door. A frantic knock at the door makes both of us jerk apart. Is it Leslie? Meyer smooths back his hair and clothes, sitting back and clearing his throat. Come in. Oh no, it's the doorman. The door instantly flies open and one of Meyer's men bolts inside. It's the cats. Mr. Eastman. Mr. Eastman, there's a bunch of cops sniffing around right outside the joint. He's like, again. I think something's about to go down if we don't stop them. Wait. Those are my guys. Safety precaution. I jump up from the sofa, inwardly kicking myself. Damn it, I should have told him to go home earlier. I lost track of time and shit, there's no excuse. It's all right, Richter. Meyer's gentle voice calls me reassuringly. Go put your men at ease. Maybe by some grand stroke of fate you'll end up here again tomorrow and we can resume our talk. He puts one of his wickedly innocent smiles, winking at me. I'd be like, oh, no, thanks. Sorry. I hope I can see you soon. You doubtlessly will, because I've been planning around your plans while you've been planning. You know how that is. With a hasty nod, I turn and follow the other man to the door, smoothing back my own ruffled hair. Lucky for me, those officers probably aren't being paid enough to ask many questions. Oh, and Richter. He calls out to me just as I'm about to cross the threshold, and I glance back at him. Don't forget what your real duty is, To cop? Good night. To buy you cake. That's my real job. Myers' man shuffles me along to the next exit before I have a chance to reply. My real duty? What the hell does he mean by that? Maybe it doesn't mean anything, but those words stick in the back of my mind, even as I leave the speakeasy to reassure the officers I'm alright and defuse the situation. Hopefully I'll get a chance to see Meyer tomorrow, and I'll ask him then. My heart's still pounding from the end of our talk. When I finally get home and roll into bed, there's no way I can fall asleep, so I spend the night restlessly tossing and turning. I'd rather be hungover than this, Jesus. Infatuation doesn't fade away half as easy. Oh, I thought it was gonna part to me. Oh, he's like, I didn't get any sleep. Where's the coffee pot? I'm just gonna drink it straight out of the coffee pot. Morning, boss. I stumble into the office feeling like a corpse dragged out of its grave. Coffee. Richter? This is the second day in a row you've come in looking like a bedraggled cat. Do you need to have an intervention? I'm fine, just couldn't sleep. Christ, something really is messed up when Leslie shows up at work before me. He lets out a long, playful sigh, shaking his head before taking a sip of his coffee. Well, don't keep me in suspense. Well, you know, I brought him cake, and then we talked about gang activity, and then we made out, and then we almost did it, and then I had to go home, and, you know, it was just a whole thing. Your escapades last night, of course. What happened? What'd you find out? Oh, yeah, right. You know, he really likes cake. With my own coffee mug in hand, I sink down in my chair, clearing my throat. Going to have to leave out some of the details here, I think. Yeah, because Leslie is all we need, and you just went and made out with Meyer. No. It's a different storyline. But apparently they're supposed to converge at the end, so, you know. I had to get a drink of my own coffee. My new friend, Mr. Meyer Eastman, well, he gave me some information about the powerful mob players in the city. Seems like he's really in the loop, eh? Leslie's like, what did he do to you? Nothing, he didn't do anything. The already pale Leslie seems to suddenly grow a shade paler. He slowly sets down his coffee and leans forward over his desk, brow furrowing as he stares at me. Did you say Eastman? Sure did, boss. Why? Why? Yes. Are you losing your hearing already, boss? You're not that... Because Eastman is the man running all of Cleveland, that's why. Leslie raises his voice in excitement and frustration, slamming his fist down on his desk. All of Cleveland? Yes, all of Cleveland. I found out about him last night at that party I went to. He's well liked and hugely powerful, and most of Cleveland's Italian mafia is terrified of him. I don't know how on earth he managed to get in his good books, but Eastman is the key to taking down the city's liquor business. In fact, I think that speakeasy itself might be his main base. After we get a bit more information, we should set up a raid. I figured Meyer was powerful, but I had no idea he was running all of Cleveland. Leslie's right, obviously. Our department is supposed to be working with the FBI to enforce prohibition here, which means shutting down criminal outfits. This should be a huge step forward. If that's the case, then why do I feel so reluctant? It's not like Meyer trusts me. In fact, I'm sure he doesn't, but I can't imagine putting him behind bars. Last night was probably just a game, his attempt to manipulate me onto his side, and yet it didn't feel like that at all. Oi, Richter. Are you spacing out? Do you need more coffee? Richter's like, I need cake. I'll be back. I snap back to the moment, greeted by a curious Leslie staring at me quizzically. No, I was just thinking, boss. We're going about this the wrong way. The wrong way? You have a different idea? When I nod, Leslie tilts his head to the side, motioning for me to continue. If there's anything I can give him credit for, it's that he's usually willing to listen to what I say, even if I'm the junior partner. Let me keep talking to Eastman. I'll get more details out of him, I promise. We shouldn't throw him in jail, not yet. Leslie stares at me in stunned silence. Does it really sound that strange? Did you hit your head on your way home last night, Richter? This is a mob boss we're talking about. He's dangerous, not in line to be the next Poe. I don't know what he said to you, but you shouldn't believe him. Just because he hasn't killed you yet doesn't mean he won't once you've outlived your usefulness. Haven't you thought about that? His frustrated, skeptical words echo my own thoughts as much as I hate to admit it. Maybe it's stupid to try and deny them, but before I can control myself, I blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. He's He's not a murder machine, Leslie. He's not a one-sided villain who was born bad. Sure, most mobsters out there are ruthless bastards, but so are a lot of normal people. Mafia guys aren't some special breed, evil to their rotten cores. Meyer, he's a businessman. He's using the law for profit, I know that, and I'm not saying I think it's right. But after talking to him, spending time with him, seeing how he's just a guy like any other, I'll be damned if I don't have more sympathy for him than whatever rich old highbinder is handing down orders in the FBI. I've never heard that one. What is this? Highbinder refers to a corrupt politician or swindler. It originates from the name of a Chinese-American criminal organization in New York in the mid-late 1800s. Okay. Leslie stays quiet, biting his bottom lip, a nervous habit of his, and avoiding my gaze for a time. I never raise my voice at him, nor anyone else for that matter. I instantly feel a little sheepish about it, but I didn't know how else to express my change of heart. Finally, Leslie rubs at his eyes with one hand and gently sighs, a small smile twitching at the corners of his lips. He stands up from his desk and walks over, giving me one of those affectionate "what am I going to do with you" looks. I guess I'm not all that surprised. You've always been compassionate and honest, probably why you're a terrible liar. He pauses, reaching out to gently ruffle my hair. There's still a worried crease in his brow, but I think he's trying his hardest to believe in me. If you really, really think this man isn't out to just screw us over, and he'll be of use to the investigation somehow, then I suppose I'm willing to go along with it, for a little while at least. Boss. A little while, I said. Hey, what? Does he? Oh, did he hug him? Oh, Leslie's like, I'm being hugged by my man. I jump out of my chair and pull Leslie down into a hug, tightly squeezing his wiry frame. He stiffens for a moment, but eventually wraps his arms around me too, softly patting my back. I sure hope you know what you're doing, Richter. If something ever happened to you, well, let's just say I have a hard enough time living with myself already. Why, because you're so high maintenance? Exactly. You know how many times a day I have to feed myself? It's very difficult. Having guilt on my shoulders won't help things any. I'll be fine, boss. Don't worry about me. As we pull apart, I gaze down into Leslie's face for a moment. He still doesn't look fully convinced, and it's perfectly reasonable. We're paid to be suspicious. I'll bring him around to the idea eventually, if everything works out. He's open-minded to just about anything, given enough time. Except vegetables, maybe. After we discuss things a little more, Leslie and I settled about our usual routine of paperwork, calls, and more paperwork. It's not like our work normally flies by, but today the hours seem especially long. At last, evening rolls around. When I head outside, my feet start to take me down a familiar road before I even realize it. Going back to the speak. Welcome, sir. What up, doorman? I would start greeting him in like the most obnoxious way possible. He'd be like, oh my god. Please enjoy your night. Loud music rushes over me in a wave. The familiar sea of dancers, lights, and sparkling glasses. This place is starting to grow on me. To my surprise, I spot Meyer already standing by the bar, cup of coffee in hand as he chats with the bartender. Should I go up to him? I don't want to come off too strong. Maybe I should just casually strike up conversation with someone else and wait for... Oh, I spotted you. Dude's like a fucking lion. He's like, pray? Richter's like, ah, shit. He just takes off running through the crowd. Just as I mull over my plan, Meyer's gaze meets mine. He instantly breaks into a warm smile, beckoning me over. He's like, don't view that. His gaze was magnetized to you like you were actual food, like you were cake. Sorry, I keep talking about cake. Maybe I'm just hungry. I don't know. Not Meyer's kind of hungry, but like food hungry. I wander towards the bar and step up beside him, clearing my throat to buy time as I figure out what to say. Well, it seems like my detective wandered back to me. Did your flock of officers decide to come along today too? No, I left them at home with the sitter. Good. I can't tell you how disappointed I was when they decided to interrupt. Richter's like, oh my god. His suggestive airy murmur sends a tingle down the back of my neck. At least I wasn't the only one who was disappointed. Yeah, well, I was really looking forward to the rest of that cake. I'm afraid I enjoyed the rest of it by myself, but I was thinking of you all the while. Does it make you feel any better? Not one bit. Meyer lets out one of his deep chuckles, low and comforting. It always seems like his sly, evasive mask melts away for a split second whenever he laughs, betraying something vulnerable. Listen, Richter, if you prefer, we can always linger out here and talk. As much as I want to savor all of you in private, I'm more than happy to just enjoy your company, discussing whatever flights of fancy we have. I probably shouldn't have said that. I imagine my seductive air and mystique is all but ruined for you now. No, I hadn't even... Never mind. Go on. His leg lightly brushes mine, underneath the bar and out of sight. He's so bold, this guy. I can see how he got into this line of work, no doubt about that. Actually, I wanted to ask you some more serious questions. Privacy might work better, just, as a precaution. Oh, of course. I have no doubt that your reasons are entirely... It's the police! I'm guessing, can I fast forward? Oh, just like a little smidge of it. Okay. At that moment, the speakeasy door flies open and a small group of officers rushes in, Leslie in tow. Like, don't touch my man! Okay. Screams echo through the parlor after the music cuts off, but the cacophony quickly goes silent. Eastman's men can't even reach for their guns. The officers are already aiming their own. And at the head of the group stands Leslie. Richter. The second our eyes meet, he rushes over to me, releasing a huge sigh of relief. Richter, thank God you're not hurt. I thought for sure that... We had an agreement, Leslie, didn't we? How can you just storm in here after me? Don't you trust me? When I manage a choked accusation, Leslie just shakes his head, eyes narrowed. It's not about trust, Richter. It's not even about the job. To hell with information gathering. The thing I care most about is keeping you safe. You're too honest, too trusting, and I can't just let you run around with people like this, even for the sake of an investigation. He gestures at Meyer angrily, apparently having guessed his identity already. Leslie was really that worried about me? I knew he was still concerned, I just didn't think he'd go this far. Richter's feeling a little guilty, I think. Meyer, who's been entirely silent this whole time, watches us with a carefully measured expression. How can he be so calm? He had no idea this was going to happen. Did he? Gentlemen, I believe there's been some severe miscommunication. Leslie's, look at the face. He's like, I will fuck you up, dude. Please, Mr. Leslie, tell your men to lower their weapons, and we can discuss things calmly without the threat of accidental bloodshed. Agreed? Leslie hesitates. There's a very strange degree of trust going on here, but I get the sense that neither of them wants it to end in violence. Okay, understood. He signals to the officers who slowly reluctantly lower their guns. It won't let me fast forward past this. The tension in the room eases a little bit, though it's still far from calm. Let me say first, Mr. Leslie, that I entirely understand your concern for your partner's safety. But you see, after our friend Richter here showed up the other night, I was struck with an idea. I knew he was a detective before he so much as walked in the door, your informant's working for me, so I decided to have a chat with him. You mean, back there, that was... Don't get me wrong, Richter. I was enjoying every second of it. But I've been looking for a way to work out an arrangement with the law in Cleveland for some time. You're a hard-headed sort here, let me tell you. Okay, we already read that. This is him just talking about, like, how, like, I'm kind of, like, iffy on the Volstead Act and Prohibition. So I thought I'd try to work out a deal as in my way. Last night was supposed to be the beginning of that deal, but... Well, I was enjoying the company so much that I thought to myself, what harm can it be to wait a little while longer? Richter's like, shut the fuck up. When Meyer's glimmering eyes settle on me, I feel my heart skip a beat. Maybe several. He invited me back to make a deal, but it spiraled into something more because he enjoyed my company? So you really believed we wouldn't try to arrest you? It was a calculated risk, of course. Meyer casually waves one hand. The way he keeps his kind of sang-froid, even while surrounded by the law, no wonder he's a leader. Or maybe... There's a game like that about like with that word in it, that's about werewolves. I think it's sang-froid or sang-froid or something. Literally cold blood in French refers to someone who acts cool and composed even in tough circumstances. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I like to make big gambles, and usually they pay off. But I've done my research on your backgrounds, your past jobs. I knew you wouldn't simply raid my venue without showing a few of your cards first. So you could say the chips landed where I thought they might. Leslie's like, this son of a bitch. He just pulls out a knife and stabs him. You like cake? Leslie rubs his cheek with a hand, blinking rapidly as if to try to understand everything we just heard. I can't blame him. I knew Meyer was sharp, but I had no idea he'd planned everything out ahead of time. You know, even though we're the ones with our guns out, I can't shake this feeling that we played right into your hand. You really do live up to your reputation, don't you? I was expecting Leslie to be furious, but instead he sounds more impressed than anything. Is it possible he actually took some of my words to heart back in the office? You mentioned a deal earlier. Care to explain what kind of deal we're talking about? Ah, I was hoping you'd ask that. A particularly satisfied smirk curls on Meyer's lips, the type a man wears when he's just won at cards. Why don't we discuss matters privately, on a neutral ground? I'll even let you pick the spot. All of us disarmed with a few of our men waiting outside. A moment, if you don't mind. Leslie grabs my sleeve and pulls me aside, leaning up to whisper in my ear. You really trust him enough for this? Normally I'd say it's suicide, but this Meyer, he's not like any other man I've ever met. It's like talking to the chief of a big corporation, not a mafia leader. He scratches his head, clearly baffled. It's not like I can blame him. I felt the same way when I first met Meyer the other night. I know he doesn't mean us any harm, boss. He's still a gangster. I can't deny that, but... I pause, swallowing. Better word things delicately, or else Leslie might catch on. I think he genuinely wants to work out a deal with us. All of this would be way too much trouble otherwise. My thoughts exactly. You think we should hear him out then? Without hesitation, I nod. Maybe it's an incredibly stupid decision, but I can't bring myself to believe all of last night was just a means to an end. If you don't mind me saying, Mr. Leslie, I gather you're the type to take precautions. Meyer pipes up airily, and we both glance over towards him. Should the two of you not show up in perfect health tomorrow, I'm certain I'll have a big hassle on my hands, and that's not what I want, I assure you. You really did your research, didn't you? It's a favorite hobby of mine. That and cake. So that means you know what size underwear Richter wears? Boss! I'm afraid you'll have to barter for that information. Oh, you drive a hard bargain, do you? I like that. He's like, I don't like that you guys are getting along. I feel trapped. I'm going home. Great, just great. After a little more discussion, the three of us settle on a hotel room for our meeting spot. The unfortunate patrons who had to witness all that, well, they're sent home and promised free drinks when they come back. In this day and age, that's probably enough to risk being shot. Once that mess is sorted out, the three of us head to the hotel with our respective men. I can't even begin to imagine how tonight will end, but I have to hope for the best. I hope this isn't the part where we get shot by a sniper through the window, okay? Fucking Leslie. Alright, we're gonna leave this here, because this is actually progressing past where it stopped before. But I'm really excited to see where it goes next, which is probably into some pretty intense territory, I imagine, with the way this game tends to go. Leslie, this is just me all the way through. Like, man, I hope we don't get sniped. And Meyer's like, what? And he's like, never mind. But I hope that you guys are enjoying the story. We finally made it past where it left off last time with Leslie. I am kind of sad, though, that we didn't just get to stay our relationship with Leslie, and then we can go hang out with Meyer and be like, hey, you want to be bros or whatevs? And then be like, sure, fam, but, you know, it's whatever. I'm excited to see where this goes after this point. But yeah, I decided to play it a little longer today, I think. It's almost like, 28 minutes, a little over 28 minutes or something like that. But yeah, it's been fun. I really like it. It's definitely exciting and interesting and well written, and I like the art style and I like the characters, and I just really appreciate the company who worked on this, you know, and I really want to play that vampire game that a couple of you were talking about, because it also seems interesting, and if it's by this company, I'm totally like into it. So yeah, definitely excited about this. But I love you guys very much. What is today, the 20th? Yeah, it's the 20th today, which means it's almost Christmas. Are you guys ready for Christmas? I am not completely ready for Christmas. I still have shopping I have to do. You know, I've been really exhausted because I think I'm getting a cold, which is always nice, but you know how it is. You just kind of have to push through it and hope for the best. But yeah, I love you guys, and I will see you next time, and hopefully you'll come in and watch more of this, because I freaking love this game, and Leslie is still my favorite. He's still my spirit animal, and that will never change no matter how much cake Meyer gives us, or has us give him. Fucking asshole. But alright, I love you guys. Bye!